It's great to catch up with all of you once again. I think it's been a whirlwind tour today. Many areas were explored, but perhaps just too little time. To me, the conversation was thought-provoking, at times pointed, but always passionate and insightful. We started with the very foundations of the digital economy, which is data. We heard an important perspective that trust between citizens and governments form a critical layer. Why? Because governments have a clear mandate to design for equitable access, and it applies not just to the services rendered, but also the underlying data. This trust then allows governments to push the boundaries on what new services are possible, and then offer them equally to everyone. And a cutting-edge example discussed is the use of citizens' genomic data. But the key is in giving citizens that choice. We also heard that the benefit of having this baseline trusted layer is critical mass, which then catalyzes the private sector to build on this base layer. We then explored how do we build innovative companies right here in Asia. There was optimism about the massive potential of Asia and Southeast Asia, although the way entrepreneurship happens may change a little bit. There was the idea that digital has enabled a great unshackling of everything from distribution to decision-making. You can be global and yet hyper-local at the same time. And the potential is that an investor can be investing in a business while not being there. And that opens up huge possibilities for a hub like Singapore. And we heard that echoed in the experience of a local unicorn, that in a very diverse Southeast Asian market, where it's all about customer centricity and being hyper-local, it can also benefit from R&D centers from Singapore to Seattle and around the world and tapping that global talent pool. But ultimately, coming back to the idea that it's a human endeavor, there cannot be a digital divide. That requires all of us to put in a concerted effort to reach out to that broad base, that last mile, to up their skill sets and digital literacy. And in charting that course, the current discussion on a global minimum tax, there is perhaps an important sense that countries had the right to determine what that is, because each was at a different level of social and economic development. I had talked about tech and sustainability, and perhaps the discussion today was interesting because there wasn't quite an agreement on what that actually meant, and there were many definitions. But there was agreement that the consumer sentiments are pivoting to being more eco-conscious. But a 3P, a private, public, and people partnership is important to drive sustainable innovations because it requires regulation and the private sector effort coming together. A very simple thing like providing broadband and last-mile mobile has a long-tail impact on how the economy transforms, and that in turn affects the carbon footprint. And perhaps to end off, before you can talk about sustainability, there must be a certain baseline level of digital inclusion. The two seem to be intertwined because you need to minimize the marginalized to be able to help them to get on the sustainability journey. Finally, something close to my heart, which is tech and creativity. The idea that tech is often just a tool and that tech really needs to be informed by human experience, by a connection with emotions. You can say AR, VR, but that is merely a tool. It only becomes something interesting when it becomes both a physical and a digital experience. How do you give these cutting-edge tools to the creatives amongst us so they can do their best work? And ultimately, how do you create an environment where you can bring that left brain and the right brain together? Overall, I really look forward to continuing this conversation. It has been extremely enlightening. And we do want to have that conversation turn into concrete action. We are therefore pioneering what we call ATxInspire projects. To bring some of these ideas into reality, to start piloting projects to bring together passionate people in every field, to kickstart and test some of these ideas here in Asia and Singapore, and in particular to share these thoughts with the younger generation to inspire them to the future of tech in Asia. Thank you all very much for being part of our inaugural ATxSummit, and hopefully to see you next year in person in Singapore. Thank you.